Hey guys, what's up? This is Francisco with Valeriso Capital. And today we're going to do the market update video. We're going to go through the major indexes. We're also going to take a look at some of the ETFs that I think that are leading right now. And then of course, we're going to take a look at some of the indexes like the VIX, and also we're going to take a look at the UVXY. That way we can understand what the market is trying to telling us right now. And remember, guys, that this video is for educational purposes only, and everything that I'm going to share in this video is based on my personal opinion and personal analysis. So now, as you can see right here in the screens, let's go through the charts. Right now in the charts, right here I have the Nasdaq Composite, which is the ticker symbol ISIC in trading view. We're gonna take a look at the markets in the way that I usually do my analysis. In the left side of the screen, I have the daily chart, and on the right side of the screen, I have the weekly chart right here. So this is usually the way that this is usually the way that I see the markets. That way I can understand what's kind of the bigger picture using the weekly charts by understanding stage analysis. And then I usually use the daily chart for my swing trading. That way I can see high probability moments in which we can see a turn, or perhaps the start of a new trend. It can be on the short-term side of things, or also it can be on the long-term side of things. So right here, as I said, I have the Nasdaq Composite. For anyone who's new to the channel, I use two indicators. I have the trend oscillator developed by Sam Shames. This indicator basically helps me identify a trend, uh, and also use this indicator as a confirmation of my own analysis. I usually identify a trend using price action and also using moving averages. And we're going to go through that in just a second. And then the other indicator that I use is the TTM squeeze developed by John Carter. And basically, this indicator helps me identify moments in time when the price is compressing or is under a moment of accumulation or distribution, and price is trading in a range, and then we can see expansion after the contraction period. So now that we understand that, let's go right here into the charts. And here I have the Nasdaq Composite. As I said before, these lines that you see in the chart, these are basically just support and resistance lines. That way I don't have to draw too many lines on the chart. And these are automated lines that they just come into my charts. So as you can see right here, we kind of have a inverse head and shoulder situation in the charts. You can see that the trend oscillator continued to be negative in the daily chart, and we are in the beginning stage of a squeeze. And then on the weekly side of things, you can see that we are right at that 10-week daily moving average, the weekly moving average. And you can see that we close right there at that 10-week moving average, but you can see that the trend oscillator continues to advise us that this is a downtrend in the higher time frame of a weekly perspective. And you can see that we are way below this 30-week and way below these 40-week lines. And that means that we could see a rally all the way to those moving averages, but we have to be aware that there's a lot of resistance above those levels. Now, if we want to take this a step further, we can see right here on the daily chart that right here, we actually printed a higher low, right? We actually printed a higher low right here, meaning that we did not take out the previous low of the short-term downtrend that we had right here. And now we actually also printed a higher high. So if you go to this line, you will see that the price actually went above this high right here, and that we also have a higher low. This means that we are having the beginning stages of a change in price structure of the Nasdaq Composite. And usually this tends to be pretty bullish, because now that we actually have a higher low and we actually have a higher high, we should see continuation, and we can make the assumption, or we can actually make the anticipation that we're going to see a change of structure. Now, what will be the confirmation? The confirmation will be a breakout above this level, and we can see that this level is somewhere around 11 11 is somewhere around 11,650. So you can use that level as a breakout level. And then, as you can see right here, this is the 50 daily moving average. And if we see a breakout above that line in volume, we could assume that we're going to see a short-term rally in the indexes. Now, how high is this rally going to go? We actually don't know, but we can make some, we can actually make some, we can make some analysis. And what I'm doing here, I'm just showing my drawings, as you can see right here in TradingView. And you can see that if we measure, for any of you guys that study Fibonacci, if we measure the swing from this high to this low right here, you can see that the 0618 level came right here into these tops. So you can see that price has been respecting this level. And then we have extensions, right? We have the 127 extension and the 1618 extension measured from this high to this low right here. And we can use these levels as possible resistance levels based in Fibonacci analysis. And of course, I'm gonna be looking for a move to close this gap that we have right here, and then perhaps a move into this high right here, somewhere around 12,300 in the Nasdaq Composite. So that's what we have right here. I think is actually pretty. I think that the change in price structure that we're seeing is actually something that suggests that we're going to see a short-term rally, counter-trend rally in what has been a really strong bear downtrend. So I think that that is going to, I think that this analysis applies to most of the other indexes, but we're also going to take a look pretty quickly. We can see the SPY, right? We can see the SPY. Same thing for the SPY. However, the SPY has not been able to take out this high just yet, but be aware that if we actually take out this high, we already printed a higher low. So we take out this high and we take out this 50-day moving average in volume. I think that the next level that we're going to see is somewhere around 415, which is this high right here. Now let's take a look at the QQQ, which is going to be pretty similar to the Nasdaq Composite. And you can see that it's basically the same chart. You can see the higher low, and you can see the resistance level that we have right here. And I think that any breakout above 300 should take us somewhere around 315. That's going to be for the QQQ. And then we can take a look at the DIA, which is the Dow Jones. And you can see that most of these charts are pretty similar. You can see that the Dow Jones also printed a higher low right here. And what is actually pretty interesting in the Dow Jones, if we bring out the drawings again, you can see that if we measure a Fibonacci retracement from this low to this swing high right here, you can see that the Dow Jones respected the 0618 perfectly. And you can also see that if we measure a Fibonacci retracement from this high to this swing low right here, you can see that we actually respected that 0618 as well. Now, the question is going to be if the Dow Jones is also going to be able to take out this high, close this gap above, and then perhaps make a strong move all the way to 333, which is going to be somewhere around these highs right here. But also we can see kind of a head and shoulders bottoming pattern right here, and also we can see the higher low. And let's see if the price in the Dow Jones is able to make actually a higher high and then a change in price structure. Now let's take a quick look at ARK, which I think is making some interesting moves right here. And let me just zoom out a little bit on the daily chart, and you can see something pretty interesting in ARK. This is as you can see, this is an indicator that I use a lot, and you can see that mostly the trend oscillator, which is the black line, has been trending below the EMA, which is the red line. That signals a pretty strong downtrend. However, what you can see right here, since the beginning of March, we have been in a really strong downtrend in ARK. However, right now we're starting to see that the trend oscillator actually moved above it, retested the EMA, and now has moved above this again, which makes me think that we are actually going to see a pretty strong move, a counter trend move in ARK ETF, and we're going to see a pretty considerable rally, which is gonna cause a short squeeze in the short term. So now let's zoom in here a little bit so that we can see price a little bit better. Let me just go back to the weekly chart as well so that we can analyze that. And you can see right here that we are starting to form a pretty interesting base, right? Kind of a double bottom base. We continue to make higher lows, right? This is a higher low relative to this low. And now we make another higher low relative to this low. And we are now making higher highs as well, which means that we already have a change in price structure. And that's usually the initial phase of a changing trend. And what is actually pretty interesting in ARK is that we are already trending above that declining 50 daily moving average. So now let's see if this daily moving average kind of starts to move to the upside. Let's see, we have a retest of that moving average, and then we have a really strong bounce to the upside. And my first target is going to be somewhere around 52.50, which is this previous high right here. But in terms of my indicators and looking at price action, I can see that this setup is forming pretty constructively for a short-term squeeze and a considerable move to the upside. So this is actually looking pretty interesting. And I think that we're going to see some pretty interesting moves in tech-related names or high beta names in the ARK ETF. Now let's take a look at the UBXY and the VIX ETF. And you can see that here, let me just hide the drawings for a second. You can see right here this is the UBXY. And what I actually see pretty interesting in the UBXY is that we have been rejected at this 200 daily moving average for quite some time right now. And I think that after this move right here, I thought that this was going to be the move that was actually going to take us a lot higher. Were not able to move above it. And now you can see that the UBXY is getting rejected at that declining 21 exponential moving average, and price continues to make lower highs. And now that we're starting to break here, you can see that we actually make a lower high right here, and that we are actually breaking below and making a lower low, which makes me think that the UBXY here is getting ready to break below these levels and then perhaps may test perhaps somewhere around 1150. So that's what I'm looking in the UBXY, and this is actually going hand in hand with the change in price structure in the Nasdaq Composite, as we are also seeing a change in price structure in the UBXY, and you're going to see the same in the VIX. And I actually like this setup to the downside because you can see that we have the trend oscillator that is starting to move below the EMA, signaling a change in the trend, at least in the short term. And we're actually seeing a squeeze. And if we zoom out in the squeeze, you can see that we have a declining squeeze, which is actually a positive for the bulls in the Nasdaq Composite in the equity markets, because this signals a high probability that the VIX is going to make a pretty strong move to the downside. And my targets are going to be somewhere around 20 as soon as we break out below this low. And you can see that we continue to make lower highs, and we're starting to break below this, making a lower low as well, which goes hand in hand with the change in price structure of the Nasdaq Composite and the other indexes that we were taking a look at. And now, after seeing this, I think that there's a high probability that we're going to continue to see more strength in the markets. And I have two ETFs that I want to mention here. And the first one is TAN, which is the solar ETF. And you can see right here that for TAN, this is a beautiful setup, right? You can see we go to the weekly chart. You can see that this level right here has been a pretty strong level, right? Was previous support, then became previous resistance. And you can see the double bottom right here with the handle right there at the 30-week and the 10-week with the squeeze in the weekly chart. And I think that we're going to see a pretty strong move to the upside, then perhaps to challenge these 100 level right here. And I think we are just in the beginning of the move. And you can see the trend oscillator is positive. We have a squeeze, and we have a pretty strong volume breakout above this high right here and above that 200 daily moving average that has been previous resistance. And you can see also the higher lows right here, which suggests a change in price structure. And then we have basically all the components to continue to see a strength in this ETF. So I think that this is going to be a really good place to focus on the upcoming days and weeks of the market. And then the next ETF that I want to show you is actually the Chinese ETF, which is QWEV. And you can see right here that this has been in a pretty strong downtrend. However, you can see since we got this volume value right here in the weekly, this has been starting to base, and I think that we are actually going to continue to see more strength in the Chinese names. Now, why do I think that? Well, if I look at my indicators, I have a squeeze, I have a trend oscillator that is moving to the upside, and now I have price right there at the 21 exponential moving average. And I think this is a great place to manage risk, because any move below this 21 exponential moving average, which will actually invalidate the idea, and that way I can manage risk pretty tightly. However, if we are able to move somewhere above this 3350 level, I think there's a strong probability that this is going to make a quick move all the way to the 200 DMA level. And there are a lot of names that actually seem pretty constructive in this ETF. And then finally, let's just take a look at TLT pretty quickly. And as you can see, TLT, this is one that I have been mentioning for a while. And what I'm actually expecting in TLT, perhaps, is TLT to continue to make higher lows as we continue to make higher highs. And then we're probably going to see a change in the trend right here, and then a move to the upside. However, we have not yet confirmation for the trend oscillator, and also the squeeze is kind of pointing to the downside here. So we will need to give this one a little bit more time. And then if we take a look at TNX, which is basically the opposite, you can see that TNX is actually moving to the upside here. And however, it continues to make lower highs and continues to make lower lows. And then perhaps we're going to see some continuation to the downside in the TNX as we make the assumption that we already had the peak in inflation. So now the summary, guys, for my market outlook is that we are in the beginnings of what could actually be a pretty strong turn and a pretty strong rally, counter trend rally in the indexes. And I think that our focus should be in high beta names. I think that ARK is actually leading, and I'm talking about the turn here, is actually leading the turn in terms of the other indexes. And we're actually seeing a lot of strength in TAN, which is the solar sector. And then we're probably going to see a continuation in strength also in the Chinese ETF and the Chinese names. So let me know, guys, what you guys think. If you have any ideas, if you have any names that you want me to review, remember to leave a comment below the video. And also, guys, please remember to like and subscribe. That way you can help my channel in the algorithm, and that way people can also benefit from this information. So thank you so much, guys, for watching. I wish you the best of lucks in the upcoming weeks. I think that the market is going to offer some pretty interesting opportunities. And also remember to also watch my watch list video, which I'm going to upload after this video right here. So thank you, guys, and continue to be amazing. Bye-bye. Peace.